Have you found yourself overthinking relationships more than you used to? Maybe you are reading into people's tones, questioning whether you have upset someone, feeling more rejected, more emotional, more doubtful, or more sensitive than you used to feel. Maybe you are still functioning, still holding everything together, still being the strong one, but inside you feel less secure, less confident, and less yourself. If that is you, I want you to stay with me because this is far more common in midlife than many women realise. And near the end of the video, I am going to share one of the biggest hidden reasons this happens, one that has nothing to do with you being weak or too much. And I will also give you practical ways to start rebuilding emotional steadiness from the inside out, because this is not just about relationships. It's about what midlife does to your nervous system, your identity, your confidence, and the way you experience connection. If you are new here, I support women through midlife anxiety, emotional overwhelm, identity change, and nervous system healing. And one thing I see and again, women in their 40s, 50s, and early 60s often start saying things like, "I don't know why I'm reacting like this. I used to be more confident. I feel more needy, more doubtful, more emotional. I don't feel secure in the same way anymore." And often what frightens them most is not just the feeling itself, it's the meaning they attach to it. They start wondering, what is wrong with me? Why am I so affected? Why am I losing my confidence now at this age? And why am I suddenly doubting myself in relationships? And I really want to say this clearly. For many women, this is not a sign that you are falling apart. It is a sign that several layers of life are colliding at once. Why midlife relationships can feel more emotionally charged. Midlife is often the stage of life where emotional bandwidth is already stretched. You may be carrying the mental load of work, home, aging parents, changing family dynamics, grief, hormonal fluctuations, sleep disruptions, financial pressures, and the quiet exhaustion of always being the one who keeps things going. So when something happens in a relationship, a partner withdraws, a friend goes quiet, an adult child becomes distant, a family member becomes demanding, it does not always land lightly. It lands on an already full system. That is why things can suddenly feel more personal, more upsetting, or harder to brush off. It's not always because the event itself is bigger. Sometimes it's because your internal system has less spare capacity. That matters because many women judge themselves harshly for feeling more affected. But when your nervous system is overloaded, your threshold changes. Things that once felt manageable may now feel deeply unsettling. The confidence piece that no one explains. There is always something else that happens in midlife that I think deserves much more attention. Many women built their confidence around roles, being needed, being capable, being productive, being attractive, being reliable, being the one who sorts things, being the emotional strong one. Then in midlife arrives and it starts gently or not so gently disrupting those old anchors. Children grow up, relationships change, parents age, carers shift, bodies change, energy changes, hormones change, and needs change. And suddenly a woman can find herself asking, if I am not constantly needed, who am I? If I cannot do everything like I used to, who am I? And if I want more space, more peace, more honesty, what does that make me? This can create a very subtle confidence wobble, not always a dramatic collapse, sometimes just a quiet internal shakiness, a feeling of, I'm not standing on the same ground I used to stand on. And when your inner identity feels less stable, relationships can feel less stable too, because we do not relate from a vacuum. We relate from a sense of self. And this is one reason I feel so passionate about talking about this as a 58-year-old woman and a counsellor, because there are stages in midlife where we can look perfectly fine from the outside, and yet in the inside, you know something has shifted. You know you are more reflective. You know certain things affect you more deeply. You know you are less willing to betray yourself for the sake of keeping the peace. And at the same time, that can make you feel more emotionally exposed. I think many women reach an age where they start seeing more clearly, But that clarification can feel uncomfortable before it feels freeing. You begin to notice what drains you, what hurts you, what you have tolerated, what no longer fits. And that can absolutely stir self-doubt before it builds self-trust. So if that is where you are, I want to say I understand the terrain, not only professionally, but personally too. Why your nervous system plays such a big role. Now let's go deeper into the parts that many women miss. When your nervous system is in a more activated state, it becomes harder to feel safe in uncertainty. And a relationship contains uncertainty all the time. Someone is quieter than normal. Someone does not text back. Someone seems distracted. Someone gives a blunt reply. A conversation feels off, a sense of distance. A calm, regulated nervous system may notice that and stay relatively steady, but a sensitized nervous system is more likely to interpret ambiguity as a threat. But not because you are irrational, because your body is already on alert. That is why midlife women can suddenly find themselves overanalyzing messages, replaying conversations, feeling easily rejected, becoming more reactive to tone, struggling not to personalize other people's moods. This is where relationship insecurity and nervous system activation overlapped. And once you understand that, shame begins to reduce, because instead of saying, I'm ridiculous, you can start saying, my system is overloaded and I need support. That is a very difficult conversation. Emotional load changes how you show up in relationships. When a woman carries too much emotional load for too long, she often starts living in survival mode. She becomes the organizer, the rememberer, the soother, the anticipator, the peacekeeper, the strong one. And this can look high functioning on the outside, but internally it can create resentment, depletion, loneliness, disconnection from self. Then in relationships, a painful pattern can appear. You keep showing up, you keep giving, you keep thinking, you keep trying, but underneath that effort is a quiet question. Who is holding me? That question runs very deep. And if it goes unmet for long enough, women often begin to feel emotionally unsafe, unseen, and oversensitive in relationships, not because they're broken, but because their inner resources are running low. This is especially common in women who have spent years being competent, empathetic, and self-sacrificing. Sometimes the self-doubt is not actually about low worth. Sometimes it's about the natural consequences of chronic emotional overextension. So here is the hidden truth I mentioned. One of the biggest reasons midlife women begin doubting themselves in relationships is you may have outgrown automatic people-pleasing, over-explaining, shape-shifting, tolerating crumbs, being endlessly available, staying silent to avoid conflict. But if you have not yet built confidence in the newer you can feel very shaky in relationships, because now you notice more, you feel more, you question more, you want more honesty, and you need more peace. Because growth often disrupts old relational patterns. This is where many women get confused. They think, I must be becoming difficult, when actually they may be becoming more truthful, and the truth can feel very uncomfortable before it feels liberating. So what helps? First, name the pattern without shaming yourself. Instead of, why am I like this? Try, what is being activated in me right now? That small shift moves from your self-attack to self-awareness. Second, separate the present moment from the deeper wound. Ask, is this situation upsetting in itself? Or is it also touching something older in me? Rejection, invisibility, abandonment, not feeling chosen, not feeling prioritized. That question matters because midlife often reactivates earlier relational pain, especially when your system is tired. Third, regulate before you interpret. This one is a big one. When you feel triggered, slow your breathing, feel your feet on the floor, unclench your jaw, lengthen your exhale. Delay the text, pause before the conversation. Let your body settle before you decide what something means. A dysregulated body will nearly always tell you a more frightening story. So start rebuilding confidence through self-trust, not performance. Real confidence in midlife is often quieter than before. It is less about proving, less about pleasing, less about being impressive, and more about knowing what you feel, knowing what you need, honouring your limits, listening to your body, speaking more truthfully, noticing red flags sooner, abandoning yourself less. That is more mature confidence, and it is powerful. Show and tell, practice examples. Let me show you what this can sound like in real life. An old pattern. He seems distant. I must have done something wrong. I need to fix this now. New pattern. I notice I feel anxious and unsettled. Let me regulate first. Let me not assume, and let me be curious before being critical. An old pattern. I need everyone to be okay so I can feel okay. New pattern. I am allowed to stay connected to myself even when someone else is distant, disappointed, or dysregulated. That is the work. Not becoming cold, not becoming detached, not pretending not to care, but learning how to stay with yourself in the middle of uncertainty. If you are doubting yourself more in relationships right now, please hear this. It does not automatically mean you are becoming needy, difficult, or unstable. It may mean your nervous system is tired, your emotional load is too high, your old identity is shifting, and your standards are changing. Your body is asking for more safety, rest, and truth. Midlife has a way of exposing what can no longer be carried out in the same way, and that includes emotional patterns, relationship roles, ways of coping, and ways of disappearing from yourself. So no, this is not always just about you being too sensitive. Sometimes it is the beginning of becoming more honest, more regulated, and more rooted in who you really are now. And that is not a breakdown, that is a recalibration. If this spoke to you, let me know in the comments which part hit home most. Was it the self-doubt, the emotional load, the relationship sensitivity, or the identity shift? And if you want, I can make the next video on how to stop overthinking relationships in midlife when the nervous system feels constantly on edge. Please subscribe if you would like more grounded, compassionate support for midlife anxiety, confidence, relationships, and emotional healing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.